So the first thing to realize when it comes to people pleasing is that we are all people pleasers. Okay, it's not just the person who says yes all the time, who is agreeable all the time, who is nice all the time in order to please. Everyone is a people pleaser. Why? Because we all have this fake fucking front that we put on. Okay, and we all put on this front during our upbringing in order to please, in order to fit in order to not be abandoned, and in order to survive. Who we are, we came up with it, we put on that front in order to please, in order to survive. Okay, and that front can take many forms. It could be someone who's nice all the time, agreeable all the time, says yes all the time, but it could also be someone who's mean all the time, someone who's miserable all the time, someone who says no all the time. Whatever the front is, as long as it's a front, you are a people pleaser. And you have to get rid of it, including the person who is nice all the time. And people always experience a little bit of resistance when they hear this, because they're like, well, what's so wrong about being nice all the time? Are you saying I should not be nice? No, of course not. However, what you have to realize is that that nice front isn't genuine. And it's rooted in fear. It's rooted in negative emotions, if you will, and it's going to keep propelling those negative emotions. You know, it's like the person who is always polite. Are they genuinely polite, or are they polite out of fear? Is it in reaction to something? And what I'm saying here is drop everything that is in reaction to something. And you'll be surprised. You will see that, guess what? Being nice will kick in. And for the first time, it'll be genuine niceness. You will be inspired to be nice. You won't have to make yourself be nice. Okay? And people can sense the difference too. One thing I say is don't identify with being nice, identify with being real. Okay? People would rather have someone who's real, who might disagree with them, than this fake-ass nice front. You know, at this point, it's like there's fronts interacting with fronts all the time. If you just bring a little bit of authenticity, I mean, it's like a breath of fresh fucking air. Okay? Drop the performance, drop the front, let go of this belief too that you must never offend anyone. You know, it's like, I must always agree with everyone. It's like, no, you're not meant to get along with everyone, and not everyone is meant to get along with you, and that's fine. Be okay with disagreeing sometime. The thing I always tell myself is, what's the intention behind it? That's the key. It's not, it might be nice or mean. It's, do I have good intentions behind what I'm expressing right now? And it could be disagreeing with someone, but are the intentions good? Or is it in reaction to something? Is it trying to shame them, bring them down? Or is it just good intentions? Focus on that instead. Focus on the place it's coming from. So you said people pleasing. What about it? Whatever you want to share, and then we'll just kind of just start diving in.
Yeah, I just feel like I always have to, like, I just suppress my feelings, and I feel like the other person is the only one who's allowed to feel.
Why?
I don't know.
That's what you got to think about. Why?
Maybe because I don't feel important.
Why? Now, I like this, okay? I always like starting with introspection, and for anyone watching, like, I'd recommend doing the same thing. It's like, you need to force yourself to start diving in. And this is something, as I said before, it's like, we're never going to do, really. Like, would you ever sit down and do this at home? Fuck no. You know, as you were saying, it's like, yeah, this sounds awesome. Am I going to do it at home? It's so easy to put it off. And this is what's cool of, on one hand, having me here, where it's like, you have, like, I'm saying, why? Like, I'll keep pressing, and also kind of having the pressure of the crowd, where it's now it's like a big deal. It's like, you know, you can't resort to escaping anymore, because that's what we usually do. It's like, this kind of kicks in. It's like, am I not important? Oh, just distract yourself. Don't address that. That's not pleasant. Here it's like, we're going to go right in there. So, why? Why don't you think you're important?
Because I don't feel like people would care if I told them what I felt.
And this here is extremely common when it comes to people pleasing, you know, that feeling that you are not important, because what you're doing when you're putting on this front is you keep abandoning yourself over and over and over again. You know, you keep abandoning yourself, telling yourself you're not important, and you keep placing other people above you. Okay, this is what happens when you're like, you know, I care too much about what people think, I must always be pleasing. It's all about them. There's never, well, what about me? What about your needs? What about what's going on inside? You're like, fuck that, let's please them. If I meet someone and I want their approval, I must do whatever I can to please them and make them happy. It's all about them. You know, I don't know if they'll like this joke, so let's hide that joke. So that little inner voice you have of authenticity, let's just say, you just keep ignoring it. And guess what? With time on repeat, your self-esteem, your sense of self is just gone, you know? And of course, you know, you end up just feeling like you're not important. And then what happens, it's a whole fucking loop. You're like, well, I'm not important, so I need more approval. Must please even more, must please even more. Okay, and the cycle. Okay, where did that come from? Why do you think that?
I think it's from being rejected when I have actually opened up.
Okay. When did you open up? What happened? We're going to dive in also more emotionally. Mm-hmm. Here, a lot of it is just kind of letting those emotions come up, kind of tuning into what it is we need to process. But for now, it's like, let's just take an example. And you're probably going to experience a lot of resistance to this. But like, hey, when's one time you can remember right now, like you did open up and you were rejected? Because that's probably the same fear that's kind of coming up here. Because what am I making you do? Literally open up in front of a fucking crowd. So now there's like, oh my God, if you do this, you're going to get rejected. You're going to get rejected. Where did that come from? What was one previous experience where you did get rejected? And how did that feel? Like replay it, put it out there, and go through it. And I know this is like the hardest thing you could possibly do. But that's why you got to take the benefit of the pressure of the crowd, where it's like no running away from it. And that's, I just want to reinforce as well, as long as you keep running away from something similar to that abundance, it's going to keep staying there, and you're going to keep reinforcing it. And that's what's like really hard too. It's like step one, like say you feel really, really miserable, really, really like in pain. There's all these negative emotions. It's like, yeah, step one, do whatever you can to get out of that. Again, positivity challenge, whatever the fuck is better than feeling just horrible. Like do it. But realize like it's still not the end goal. Because as long as you're like, must be happy, must feel good all the time, you're going to continuously keep escaping these other painful emotions. And it's only until you fully dive into them and realize, hey, it's all good, that you can finally like feel abundance or feel at ease and no longer feel this constant need of running away from, running towards. So here it's like whatever you're running away from, like this is usually the stuff that you even pop in when you're sitting home alone. It's like you sit home, it's like it starts bubbling up. Let's dive into it and kind of use this environment to make yourself do it. So what's one example where you opened up and really got rejected? And it just like really, really hurt, and it was really like traumatizing.
I can't even.
I know it's hard, I know. Just know that the crowd's there. If you just want to focus on me, just focus on me.
Yeah. I just can't come up with a concrete example, really.
Most likely a lot of those experiences where say you did open up and you were rejected for it, you shoved them down. And most likely a lot of it happened when you were really young, but let's just say, I don't know, just think of the most recent one, even if it's like a small scale one. Like, did you ever go through a breakup when that happened? Did you ever meet someone when that happened? When was sometime, it's like, again, always people pleasing. It's like, you want to please everyone, what's so bad if you don't please everyone? Because that's what people pleasing, it's like, you're trying to always conform to the person you're talking to. And we all have it. It's like, do you guys ever say yes when you want to say no? So you're people pleasing. Everyone's like, no, it's like, So most likely it's like people pleasing. It's like, you always want to fit in. And kind of linking to people seeing the real you, when you are people pleasing, they never do see the real you. They always see that front that you put on. And you can kind of experience it too, like you'll see in different relationships. And this is something where if you use relationships in your benefit, it'll help big time. Because with people pleasing, you can fake it enough to kind of get in the beginning of a relationship. But for a relationship to really like blossom, you need to truly be authentic and put yourself out there. And once your partner kind of sees like you can't do that, there's still all these aspects that you hide, there's no longer that trust, there's no longer that intimacy. And in a way for the other person too, it becomes very boring because you're just a mirror of that person. So it'll keep, blocking you from really connecting with someone authentically. But then there's that fear too. Well, what if they do see the real you? What's so bad about them seeing the real you? What's so bad about them even rejecting the real you? Whatever comes to mind.
Say I open up, and then the other person says like, no, that's okay, you shouldn't feel like that.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of that, like from my family and my siblings, and yeah.
So shamed to feel what you're feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some of the emotions they don't want you to feel, or they say you shouldn't feel like that?
Like anxious or sad or angry.
Here too, what's interesting is, you know, we think we would feel comforted when someone tells you like, hey, you shouldn't feel bad, but in reality that makes things worse. You know, just be aware of it next time you're maybe with a friend or a loved one and they're experiencing, let's just say, some sadness. And you're like, you know what, you shouldn't feel that bad, you shouldn't feel sad, it'll be okay. That's not what they want to hear, because you're making them feel like it's not okay to feel sad. In reality, what we all crave in a moment of sadness, for example, is someone to just be with us, you know, and to accept the fact that we're sad and be with us with the sadness, if you will, versus labeling the sadness as bad and making us feel wrong about feeling what we're feeling. It's more so, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to be feeling what you're feeling, and I'm there with you for that. Okay? So what happens if you do show anger or sadness? What are you feeling right now? Actually, let's do this. This is a good little exercise, and we'll keep going deeper. Narrate what's going on in your head or emotionally just right now. Like, we all have that little voice in our head. Step one, in terms of like, say, hey, being real, fuck it, stop putting it on the front, is just start narrating it. So literally, whatever that voice is saying right now in your head, like when I'm saying, you're like, oh, fuck, what does he make me, like that? Verbalize it. Literally verbalize whatever is going on. Don't judge it. It could be like, oh my God, fuck, Julien, why did you bring me up on stage? I don't care what it is, verbalize it. So I make her do that exercise of narrating what's going on inside. Okay, fuck the front, fuck micromanaging what you're saying, what's coming out, get rid of all the filters and just say it. Because that's what happens. We think something, we're like, is this okay to say? Is it okay to express it? Does it fit the front here? No. Yes. Okay, it's like there's this bar. Is this okay? No. Yes. And the more, let's just say, extreme of a people pleaser you are, the higher the bar. All of this is not okay. Only this is okay. So what I'm doing here is, let's get rid of this fucking bar. Just say whatever's on your mind right now and use this as a stepping stone to get one step closer to being authentic again, to remind you what it feels like to be authentic and to stop having this little front.
Now I'm just, when I get nervous, I turn very red in my face and my chest. So
do this for like 2 minutes.
That's like the only thing I think about.
You're thinking something right now.
Yeah.
Verbalize it for 2 minutes. Just verbalize it, verbalize it, verbalize it.
No, I can't.
Verbalize the resistance to it. Be like, oh no, I can't. I feel like that if I verbalize it this, I'm trying to come up with excuses not to verbalize it. I'm trying to, you know, talk my way out of it, whatever it is, verbalize that.
Yeah. I just feel like when if people in the crowd haven't noticed it yet, and I say it, or I like feel it more, they will see it, and yeah.
Okay, I like it. And you're still talking and verbalizing a bit of it, but it's still kind of explaining it to the crowd. Make it really personal. Like, that voice talking to you, let it out.
I just feel awkward in the way I sit, because I have all this knowledge of how to be like open in your body language, but I still sit with my legs crossed and my arms crossed, and
that's now funny enough, that's being open.
Yeah.
It's talking about how you're afraid of like being open. It's like, it's fine if you're crossed. Like, you telling people you feel uncomfortable about, oh, maybe I'm not open enough by being like this, that's you being open. Yeah. So continue that. That little voice, just start narrating it. Express it.
I feel more comfortable right now, right here.
I want 2 minutes of it, nonstop.
2 minutes?
We all have that little voice, 2 minutes nonstop. If you don't know what to say, verbalize. I don't really know what to say right now. Like, whatever is going on, that's what you need to verbalize.
Yeah. I'm not very good at English, so it feels kind of awkward sitting here in front of Swedish-speaking people talking English.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, this is so awkward.
Good. Keep going.
Oh, it's making me nervous.
Yep. Keep following. Keep going. Keep going. That's the step one. Okay. Now, obviously, like, you really want to resolve this like subconsciously and emotionally. But step one, for anyone who's like stuck in this like people pleaser mentality, which is most of us, it's doing something like this. It's just verbalizing what's on your mind. And I can guarantee you, you just doing that, like it hits everyone watching you on an authentic level. Like that's the shit where you're like, whoa, like you actually see the human side. It's no longer the front of like, okay, I'm here on stage, I'm doing the exercise. It's like, whoa, you know? And that's also when you connect with everyone on a deep level too, because again, the more personal the wound, the more universal. Like, does anyone actually kind of feel the same way where you're like, oh shit, like that's what kind of stood out? Yeah, you know? And we think it's the opposite. We think it's when we put on this cool front that people like us, and we always underestimate the value of authenticity. And the same in like just social interactions. If you're always going out and you're talking to people trying to put on this cool front, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's better than not going out and interacting with people, but you're still not breaking out of this people pleaser mentality. Trying to be cool is being a people pleaser. Trying to be a bad boy is being a people pleaser. Trying to be a nice guy is a people pleaser. Stop trying to be so nice, start being more real, and start getting actual reference experiences like you're getting now of you being real like this. Now, of course, you can even go deeper, like, okay, well, what is real, you know? But just start narrating authentically what's going on. If you run out of things to say, the best thing to do is, hey, I ran out of things to say. And you think, oh, the person would like mock you, but in reality, there's that authenticity, and that's really what's missing. It's like we all have this front. You know, and I can guarantee you, too, although, oh, my God, I'm nervous, and you saying I'm nervous, that felt a lot better than trying to hide the nervousness. You know? And that's kind of those first references you want to get where it's like, it's okay. Because that's really what realizing, you know, it's like abundance is your default. It's it's the ultimate form of self-acceptance. It's accepting who you are consciously and everything that's in your subconscious, accepting and validating everything you went through and everything you're feeling. Whatever you're feeling, if it's okay to feel that, it's good. It'll just like move through you. The thing is like, we're like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, and we keep suppressing and hanging on to shit. No, it's totally okay. Who says it's bad? You know? So, keep going. I know you thought it was over. What kicked in now? You're like, okay, keep going. What thought came in? What emotion came in? Narrate that when I said keep going.
Just, yeah. I don't feel nervous anymore. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's quite nice just being quiet. Oh, this is awful. I don't like this.
Narrate it.
Oh.
Narrate, why don't you like it?
I feel anxious.
Good. What else?
Feels surreal. I'm just seeing it through a screen.
All right. So we'll just do this as like level 1. Okay. We'll get a little deeper here. Again, this is good. It's a good exercise, but we still need to get to the original cause. A lot of times it's in your subconscious. So close your eyes and literally think back to, again, one of those moments where, you know, you were putting yourself out there authentically. And if you resonate with this, you can do it too. Okay, just like close your eyes and think back to one of those moments you put yourself out there and, you know, someone just really shamed you for what you were feeling or shamed you for what you were thinking. You know, they told you it's not okay. That part of you was rejected. You know, you felt maybe embarrassed. You felt upset. Maybe self-hate kicked in because you shouldn't be feeling that. You're like, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling that? Why is that coming up? And just kind of replay the scenario and just replay like all those sensations. Like how did you feel? If you were anxious, if you were angry, just kind of what came up and what do you feel in your body right now? Just kind of replaying it. Do you feel hurt, betrayed, upset, embarrassed, stupid, hating yourself, beating yourself up? Just tune into it and just let it come up. Okay? So let's just start bringing that awareness. That's the first step. Bring some awareness to what is down there. Okay? And if a little bit comes up, that's fine. You may experience resistance and nothing will come up. In that case, tune into the resistance. But just allow that to finally come up. Stop running away from it. Stop ignoring it. Stop distracting yourself. Use this as an opportunity to really dive into it. So again, it's then about using the inner approach to get to the cause and let go of it. Okay, but realize here that people pleasing is something that we all do. You know, we are all hooked on always putting on this front, and we all have to let go of it. Okay, and realize here too that you'll never get what you're hoping to get with this front. Like, let's just say you're putting on a front to, you know, get a lot of approval. I mean, who doesn't want approval? But what will happen is no matter how much approval you get, on one hand, it will never fulfill you in a way because you're not really being approved for you. You're being approved for the front that you put on. You know? So there's part of you that knows they don't really like the real you. They only like the front. There's that saying, what hurts more than being, say, rejected for you is only being liked when you're not being you, when you're being fake, when you're putting on a front. I mean, that's just the worst. And not just that, but even if you get all the approval, what then happens, because it's, you know, external, it's in the world of duality, and because someone who can approve of you can also disapprove of you, there's then that fear of keeping the approval. They're like, okay, well, they approve of me now, but will they still approve of me a second from now? How do I keep them approving of me? How do I keep them approving of me tomorrow? Okay, it's endless. It's a perpetual chase. You never get there. And again, you start, as we mentioned before, killing your self-esteem. You start hating yourself, and you start hating others too. Because you're always, you know, putting on this front to please them. And as soon as they don't go that extra mile, because you're going the extra mile, you're like, oh, fuck that person, fuck that person. And then you tell yourself, I can't be feeling this, suppress it. And there's this passive aggressive type of vibe to you, you know, and this is why people just explode, because they keep suppressing it. So let go of it. Realize too that, you know, no connections that you build with other people will ever be authentic, and they'll sense that too. You know, I said here, it's like when you get into a relationship, for it to really last the long run, you have to drop this fucking front. Otherwise, I mean, it won't go anywhere because there's no intimacy. You know, people don't get to know you. By you always agreeing, you think you're doing someone a favor, like, I'm always agreeing with them, whatever they like, I like. But in reality, you just become this mirror of who they are. And that's not interesting. They'll lose, I mean, interest very fast because no one wants to date themselves or, you know, just, for example, marry themselves. And they never get to know you. They're like, well, who's the real person underneath? No one wants someone who's agreeable. People want someone who is real. Okay? Otherwise, again, you're just boring, and it's extremely lonely for the other person. There's no trust, and I mean, everyone loses. They don't get to know you. Resentment kind of kicks in. They're like, ugh, they can't trust you. Because of that, you already hate yourself, and then you resent them, and shit just hits the fan. So people pleasing, it's horrible. Let go of it. Fuck the fake front, even if it's a nice fake front. Fuck that nice fake front.